Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is Money Mike, and today on the channel we are going to be discussing who I think will win this year's men's and women's Royal Rumble matches. But first, big breaking news earlier today as I record this. The WWE has found a new home for Monday Night Raw starting in January 2025. As we know, SmackDown is going to be on USA Network. They will be leaving Fox for USA Network. But now WWE has found a new home for Monday Night Raw. And it's not Monday Night, just Monday Night Raw. As I will pull this up here on my computer. Monday Night Raw is coming to Netflix. So, if you're not already subscribed to Netflix as part of your a billion subscription services that there is out there that you can subscribe to, as a wrestling fan, if you want to watch Raw in 2025 and beyond, you will have to subscribe to Netflix. So let's look up the details here. WWE, part of TKO Group's holdings, and Netflix announced a long-term partnership that will bring WWE's flagship weekly program to the world's leading entertainment service. This marks a major programming shift as Raw leaves linear television for the first time since its inception 31 years ago. Beginning in January 2025, Netflix will be the exclusive new home of Raw in the US, Canada, UK, and Latin America, among other territories, with additional countries and regions to be added over time. And this is the part where I just said, it's not just Monday Night Raw. Likewise, as part of the agreement, Netflix will also become the home for all WWE shows and specials outside the U.S., inclusive of outside the U.S. as available, inclusive of Raw and WWE's other weekly shows, SmackDown and NXT, as well as the company's premium live events, including WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Royal Rumble. WWE's award-winning documentaries, original series, and forthcoming projects will also be available on Netflix internationally beginning in 2025. This is a pretty massive deal. January 2025, obviously you got a year. We got a year until Raw goes to Netflix, so obviously you can still watch it on, if you have YouTube TV like I do, or DirecTV, cable, whatever you got, you can still watch it on USA Network until January 25. But what I think is very interesting to me is that the deal with USA Network is up in October 2024. It does not go through the entire until January 2025. So I'm going to be very curious to see what WWE does to fill in that little gap. Are they going to have Netflix buy out and start, Raw on Netflix earlier than January 2025? Or are they going to extend out with NBC to where USA Network can still cover Raw until January 2025? Because that's a big blackout little period where October 2024 until January 2025, I mean, does that mean Raw is going to be, they're going to stop running Raw during that time period? Or there's still a lot that has to be worked out, obviously. If you look here, I did find this tweet that's now again, I do want to say another interesting thing that this deal is that it is a 10-year deal with Netflix. But this tweet from Brandon Thurston is very interesting to me because This is a deal that could be just 10 years, could be 5 years, could be 20, whatever the case is. So Netflix has the option to cancel the 10-year deal. And I'll put the tweet here in the video. 10-year Netflix has the option to cancel the 10-year deal with WWE after just 5 years. And has the option to extend the deal for an additional 10 years, according to a filing from TKO. Meaning the WWE Netflix term could end up being 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Basically, however they see this, if it works out, they'll extend it. If they don't see that maybe it's worth it, they won't. The NFL caught a lot of flack for having a playoff game being exclusive to Peacock. So you gotta wonder, are wrestling fans going to kind of have a similar backlash? Because, there might be some people who say, hey, I already have a whole lot of streaming services that I'm subscribed to. Now I have to add Netflix so I can watch Raw. Or are they just going to stick to watching SmackDown and then just catching the highlights on YouTube? One more news item, because before I get to the Royal Rumble, because this kind of does tie into the Royal Rumble, because this person might be in the Royal Rumble if he does indeed want to sit at the head of the table, but he is sitting at the head of the table in the board of directors office at TKO as The Rock. Dwayne Johnson is now on the board of directors at TKO. Now you have The Rock kind of in there with TKO, in working with WWE. WWE has fully giving the naming rights, The Rock, to Dwayne Johnson. So he now owns The Rock, trademarks, name, everything. It's very, very interesting. So The Rock is now joining up with TKO, joining up with WWE, and all of this among rumors that he may be coming back to the WWE, facing off against Roman Reigns. The narrative for the Royal Rumble. Let's talk about the Men's Rumble real quick, because the Men's Rumble is a little bit more easier to dissect than it is than the Women's. I wanted to make this video sooner, but when Seth Rollins got hurt, I wanted to see what was going to happen. Because if Seth Rollins had to vacate the title, I would have been alright with WWE saying, hey, let's put the title on the line in the Rumble. And if Seth Rollins is going to be ready to go at WrestleMania, why not have CM Punk win the title in the Rumble? And you can still do Punk versus Rollins and just have Rollins get a guaranteed rematch, and then he faces Punk that way. Or if he was going to be out longer, there was all these different things, maybe a cash-in could have happened on Raw. But now that we know Seth is not going to be relinquishing the title, now we know kind of going in what may or may not happen at the Royal Rumble. So, finish the story is the big narrative in WWE right now. We saw it in the trailer for 2K24. Finish the story in 40 years of WrestleMania. But now Cody Rhodes looks to finish his story and win back-to-back Royal Rumbles for the first time since Stone Cold Steve Austin did it in 1997-98. But also, there's another guy named CM Punk, hence why I'm wearing his t-shirt for this video, that also has a story he wants to finish. He wants to finish the story the right way with his return in WWE. And we saw them two have a fantastic promo on Raw last night. And, it makes me kind of want to see a Punk and Cody feud now. But The men's rumble is a lot more easier, I think, to me. I think CM Punk is going to win the rumble, get his match against Seth Rollins. Punk will win, and then I think Seth, he could easily take off for a few months, like we saw Drew McIntyre did last year when Drew had the triple threat match with Sheamus and Gunther, and then he took a few months off. So I think Seth and Punk are still going to be the match at WrestleMania, and I think Punk gets there via winning the Rumble this Saturday. But I think Cody Rhodes, I think he's going to go in through the Elimination Chamber and get to Roman Reigns that way. And he has to finish the story. As you can see in my little graphics, shout out to my friend Adam for making these amazing graphics for me. Cody, he has to finish his story. But what if there was a guy came along to Cody Rhodes and said, it doesn't matter if you finished your story. Because let's talk about the possibility real quick. The Rock. What if The Rock comes back? What if The Rock is in the Rumble and he wins it and he goes on to face Roman Reigns? Now we know on the Pat McAfee show earlier last year, The Rock confirmed that there was a deal in place to face Roman Reigns at last year's WrestleMania, and that Cody Rhodes winning the Rumble was the B plan, or Plan B. That Rock was supposed to return to win the Rumble, and he would challenge Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 39. Now The Rock showed up on Raw on day one, and he said he wants to sit at the head of the table. So what does that mean? Does that mean The Rock is going to potentially be in the Royal Rumble? And he's on the board of directors at TKO, so he can most certainly be like, "Hey, Triple H, it doesn't matter what your story, what your creative plans are. I'm winning the Rumble and facing Roman, and I'm on the board of directors, and I can do that." Okay, I don't know if he can actually do that, but you kind of get where I'm going with that. So I don't know. It's funny to me because I don't want to outrule it. The Rock being a surprise entrant and potentially winning, and then holding off on Cody Rhodes finishing the story. But I feel like they're going to go with. I feel like Cody's going to get there through the Elimination Chamber. But I think if you haven't already, check out my video. I talked about The Rock and Roman Reigns potentially happening at the Elimination Chamber. I'll leave a link up here for that. But let's talk about the Women's Royal Rumble. Because, man, this is where it gets a little bit more complicated, folks. I think Charlotte Flair's injury really, really threw everything off. Charlotte Flair's injury, I think, made the Women's Royal Rumble very, very unpredictable, less predictable. I don't even know if before that it was even predictable. But considering there were rumors of Charlotte versus Bianca, I always kind of wondered, is Io Sky, how long is Io Sky going to hold the title? Obviously, there's going to be a split between Damage Control and Bayley. And I'll get into returns in a minute that I think could happen. But it's one of those things to me where I think now you could have anybody win it. I know people say Becky, some people say Bayley. I think Jade Cargill, to me, is the real wild card in all this. We haven't seen her on TV. I mean, we've seen her on TV for a little bit where she was going around, being shown around in the locker room, and she had little face-offs with Charlotte and Becky. But it's one of those things where is WWE willing to go all in, no pun intended, with Jade Cargill, where they're going to have her come in and win the Rumble, and then go on to face, say, Rhea Ripley or Io Sky. Or, well, not Io Sky, but because I could see if WWE has Jade win the Rumble, you could have Bianca beat Io for the title, say at the Elimination Chamber, and then you play that into, say, Bayley accidentally costed Io the title. That sets up the Damage Control turn where they turn on Bayley, and then you do Jade versus Bianca at WrestleMania. Like Cody, Becky doesn't really need the Royal Rumble. And Becky hinted recently, she said she's never done an Elimination Chamber match and that it's time for her to make an appearance in that match. Which makes me think that she's not winning the Royal Rumble. And that she's going to be doing the Elimination Chamber and that she's going to go in and win the Elimination Chamber to get to Rhea Ripley. While the winner of the Royal Rumble will face Io Sky or whoever is the women's champion on SmackDown. And that's where everything kind of becomes colluded because it's like, who is going to win the women's Royal Rumble? And I don't want. Becky doesn't need the Rumble, even though I could see her winning it. I think it's too soon to have a multiple-time winner for the women's Royal Rumble. So Becky winning it, no, I don't want to see that. I think it'd be better to give it to another first-timer. Bayley hasn't won a Royal Rumble, but you could go with her and just go the route of Bayley versus Io. What about Sasha Banks? There's a lot of rumors of Sasha coming back, or, well, going to AEW, coming back to WWE. Nobody knows which one it is. I mean, it would be kind of interesting if Tony Khan has Sasha Banks or Mercedes Moné show up on Dynamite before the Royal Rumble to completely kill any speculation for her returning in the Royal Rumble. Naomi is suspected to come back after she's been in Impact. She dropped the Knockout title to Jordynne Grace. She's expected to come back to WWE. And I feel like that's where everything gets convoluted with Bayley because there's so many things that you could do if Sasha comes back, Naomi comes back. You have so many different things that you can do in the Women's Royal Rumble of who can win it and who, and how you go forward with WrestleMania because you could have. Obviously, you have on SmackDown the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi going against the Women's Tag Team Champions. Katana Chance, Kayden Carter. I think Asuka and Kairi will probably win those tag titles, which again will probably set up what I think will happen because I don't think the Damage Control split. Well, it will involve the Women's Championship. I could see the Kabuki Warriors winning the women's tag titles, and then Sasha Banks returning to save Bayley, and Sasha and Bayley, the Boston Hug connection, reunite to take on Asuka and Kairi for the women's tag titles, while you might have Naomi go after Io Sky. And I know it's kind of, or Bayley goes after Io Sky, while Sasha and Naomi come back and go after the tag titles that they never lost. Again, if I have to choose for this video, for the purpose of this video, to me, I believe in my mind, I think the women, I want to go Bayley, but I think Jade Cargill is going to be pushed to the moon. I'm picking Jade Cargill to win the Women's Royal Rumble. I think Io is going to lose the title to Bianca before WrestleMania. Bayley will play a role in it because she'll accidentally cost her, and it's going to be this big thing where they attack her, and then Sasha and Bayley can go after them, or you can just do a 6-woman tag where it's Asuka, Kairi, and Io versus Bayley, Sasha, and Naomi, while you have Jade versus Bianca for the women's championship. My first ever live stream of the Royal Rumble this Saturday night, as as I look to make, take my channel a little bit more seriously and do more videos. I will be doing my first live stream on Saturday night with the Royal Rumble. So I know you'll have your choosing of live streams, and if you watch mine, I will thank you in advance for doing so. And I hope you guys will join me as I will start doing more with the channel. I will be rebranding the channel, doing all this stuff. And again, thank you to my good friend Adam for making these awesome graphics you saw during this video. And leave a comment below. What do you guys think of Raw going to Netflix? Is The Rock going to come in and disrupt Cody's story? Will he face Roman Reigns at the Elimination Chamber? Will it be WrestleMania? And who do you guys think will win the Royal Rumble? My official predictions video will be out on Friday and live stream again on Saturday for the Rumble. I've been your host, Money Mike, and I'll see y'all Friday with my predictions for the Royal Rumble.